You know, in retrospect, them choosing that one Smashing Pumpkins song for the teaser trailer of this movie makes a lot more sense now. Today on Readus Reviews, I review Rampage, a movie based on the early 90s video game franchise created by Midway Games. Or as I like to call them, Stage 1 in the NetherRealm Studios Evolution tier. And the story is pretty much how you've expected it given all the promotion for this movie that you've seen so far. 3 canisters of certain pathogen crash land on 3 areas of the Earth, affecting 3 specific animals, with the result making them all grow bigger, stronger, faster, angrier. One of the animals affected is an albino male gorilla named George, which, as you can imagine, becomes a concern of his human caretaker, David Okoye. No relation. And so with the help of Dr. Caldwell, they have to stop not only George from rampaging everything, but also the other 2 animals infected. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound anything close to the Rampage games that I used to play, I mean, you're right, but at the same time, why would you want to see that? Because as far as the story is concerned, I'm kinda glad that this was a loose adaptation of the video game franchise. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten a lot of things that we got in this movie. Like I said in this editorial back when the teaser trailer first was released for this movie, the one thing that the Rampage games, specifically the first one, lacked was a narrative. And this movie gives it a narrative, and it's okay. Like, for example, when the movie first started, I was questioning myself if I walked into the wrong theater. No, seriously, when the movie started, I was expecting Rampage, and what I got was like the last 10 minutes of the first Alien movie. Like, I was shook. I say that to mean that the story does a good job of setting the situation up for itself and us. And as you keep watching it, it does a good job of pacing out all the information that you need to know as far as why everything in this movie is happening, which makes the believability of it all the more real. I mean, I don't know how much believability you need to know in order for you to be convinced that a giant-ass gorilla, wolf, and an alligator that used to be a Godzilla clone is like rampaging Chicago, which was a good nod to like the original location of Midway Games, by the way. But I mean, whatever, you can take what you get, I guess. And it's not like they completely just threw out everything about the video game franchise and just took the monsters, which were appropriately named, by the way. There were Easter eggs, they incorporated power-ups and cooldowns from the beat-em-up into like the actual lore of the movieverse. It was actually pretty well done. I also like how they utilized the human element of this as well, specifically when it comes to the 3 main players. With that being said, let's start with Jeffrey Dean Morgan right quick. I'm starting backwards because I have a reason. Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this film is the most non-asshole I've ever seen him. That's in regards to Watchmen. That's in regards to Supernatural. That's in regards to the Walking Dead ratings. Like, the trailers promoted his character, making me think that I was going to dislike this character like a motherfucker. But in actuality, he has the best character progression and development over the entire course of the bitch. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like another character of his until they make the Flashpoint movie and he becomes the Flashpoint Batman over in the DCEU. But as far as right now, this is pretty much my favorite Jeffrey Dean Morgan performance. Another thing that I like character-wise is the overall relationship between The Rock's character and Naomi Campbell's character. You see them work together, you see them have their ups and downs regarding like trust and whatnot. There wasn't a forced romance, which would have been like left field like a motherfucker if that happened. I wouldn't have believed that for a hot ass second. And at the same time, you really kind of saw her as an equal to The Rock's character, not necessarily like a damsel in distress type character. And then The Rock was... he was The Rock. I mean, I don't know what else you want. And I say that because given all the performances that I've seen of The Rock, this is the closest thing that I'm going to get to him, like, breaking new ground as far as like where he can go acting wise, which doesn't say a lot, unfortunately. Like, you see the concern that he has for George, you see the bond that Davis and George have over the entire course of the movie, but it also goes into my one critique that I have about not only the movie, but specifically his character, is that he doesn't go the extra mile to show how establish the closeness of this bond that he has with George. Like, you see the concern and you understand his actions as far as what he's doing in order to make sure that George is okay, but you don't see the emotional resonance with it. There are plenty of moments in which I got more emotional about the connection that George and Davis has, more than The Rock did. And I feel like if it would to make sense as far as why their connection is so strong, he would have that. A better example of what I'm talking about is like how Charlize Theron was at the end of the Disney remake of Mighty Joe Young. That's something that I'm talking about. That's something close to more of what I'm talking about. I would have loved to see that. But what makes up for that is the overall villain. Jesus Christ. Readers, in the case that you're trying to figure out how to write like a textbook sociopathic villain, if it pleases the court, I would like to present Exhibit Bitch. She was cold, she was cunning, she was calculated, she gave no fucks about anybody unless it was her, and I hated her for it, but loved her because of it. And while the movie did go off in some B-movie tangents before you found out how, like, ridiculously sociopathic this woman was, it was clear in the moment that you saw how she acted in the third act specifically. But no, readers, I overall thought that Rampage was pretty decent. It gave a pretty strong narrative to a damn near narrativeless video game franchise, built some pretty impressive lore behind it, and knew when to both take itself seriously and realize that it's just a fun action movie. So if you're anybody like me and you enjoy proper world building and like lore that makes sense within its own universe and doesn't break its own rules, and like find the enjoyment of like putting together plot devices and like everything else that comes into properly crafting a story, whether or not it's simple or complicated, you'll enjoy this movie. And at the same time, if you just want to see 3 giant-ass kaiju motherfuckers fuck shit up in Chicago, you'll like this movie too. I'd say if you're going to see it in theaters, it's a matinee ticket at least. As far as home video, I would say a DVD purchase or a rental. So with that, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comments section below what you thought of the movie adaptation of Rampage if you've seen it. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.